have requested a Gen 2 run with Corsola, and it's my two favorite types, so expect that to be the next run we take a crack at. Well, that was a big fat lie. Not anymore. Yeah, I really just wanted to do that Lapras run. That's all that boiled down to. It's Corsola's time to shine. Corsola has a base stat total of 410, which is pretty great, in Gen 7. Before that, it was 30 less at 380. That's not a miserable number by any means, but it's not fantastic. I can take a beating at 85 defense and special defense, and at least the leftover stats aren't distributed too terribly. The only one that's not great is speed, but I can live without that. Corsola's moveset is okay. It's pretty typical for a water type in Gen 2, except I learned a very special move by level up. Oh yeah, it's ancient power time again. If you don't like it, it's okay. It's not for everyone. And here's the rules. Will I fix all the typos on them this time, unlike the other videos? We'll see. I will only be using Corsola in battle. HM users have to be caught to progress through the game, but they obviously won't see any use in battle. I'm not going to be using any items in battle where I have to go to the items menu in battle. Held items are totally legit because I have to choose them before the battle. And I won't be evolving Corsola. This is unusual because technically this is a possibility with Corsola now existing, even though that's a different Corsola, but you get what I mean. I looked up a lot of stuff on Corsola and the coral reefs it's based on, and I found some pretty interesting stuff. So I just named Corsola Carl. I thought the name fit pretty well. My rival stole Chikorita from Elm, and the first battle wasn't anything special. The only attacking move we both had was Tackle, but since I'm part rock, I resisted it, and it was an easy battle. I thought about naming my rival Pollution, but I did one better. I named him People, because people are the biggest threat to the environment. Deep stuff, right? I stayed away from Sprout Tower because grass moves are my worst nightmare, but I was not expecting the hard part of the run to happen immediately afterwards. Faulkner was a tough fight. Yes. You heard me correctly. A sentence that's never been said before. You'd think Pidgey and Pidgeotto at level 7 and 9 would be ridiculously easy. Rock resists normal and flying types. But they have Mud Slap, which is super effective against me. It doesn't hit too hard, but it lowers my accuracy. And this was the most egregious I have ever seen an accuracy drop. Sand Attack's got nothing on Mud Slap. The very first battle, I missed 9 attacks in a row. 9. Even with a berry, I couldn't stand up to Pidgeotto. This is really embarrassing, but I had to reach level 16 to beat Faulkner. I only took 1 Mud Slap from Pidgey, and 3 from Pidgeotto, but that didn't keep me from hitting it either. I think I just used all that bad RNG on the first battle and traded it out here. I wasn't as worried about Bugsy's battle, even with Scyther having Fury Cutter, but man, it sure wasn't easy. I used the dead time against Metapod to set up 6 Hardens and bubbled through Metapod and Kakuna. Fury Cutter obviously didn't hit too hard at the beginning, but even with me having Harden, it still crushed me. 1 crit that it got gave it the edge it needed to take me out. I did the exact same thing again on another try, but 2 things were different. Scyther missed a Fury Cutter, so it had to rebuild power. And I had just learned Recover and actually used it this time, just in case I needed more health. And Recover lasts on my moveset for a very long time. The rival battle before the Ilex Forest was interesting because of my type. Gastly was easily dispatched, and when Bayleaf came out, I tried using Mud Slap so I could lower its accuracy. A crit Razor Leaf left me at 1 health. I recovered, only to immediately die. I tried this battle a lot of times. Mud Slap just doesn't affect Bayleaf the way it affected me in Faulkner's gym. No matter how much mud I slapped around, it didn't seem to affect Bayleaf at all. I had to resort to grinding to get past my rival here. For some reason, I always felt like this was a really tough battle growing up. If you've watched my Nuzlocke series, you know that I seriously overthink the smallest bits of every battle, but back then, I was just straight up bad. Not just kinda bad. 25 was the magic number. Mud Slap almost one-shot Gastly. Then Bubble Beam finished it off. I slapped Mud at Bayleaf, it set up Reflect, I slapped more Mud, and Razor Leaf missed. I kept slapping mud even when it would hit, and after using 6 mud slaps to lower its accuracy all the way, I used recover to stay alive. And every time it would hit with Razor Leaf, I just recovered to ignore the damage. Bubble Beam did a surprising amount of damage on Bayleaf too. I just kept using recover when it would attack and used Bubble Beam when it didn't. I hope me using recover doesn't bug you, cause it ain't going anywhere anytime soon. And Bubble Beam one-shot poor Zubat. Also, this one rival battle has taken up 5 paragraphs in my script. That's way too many for a battle this early in the game. Now for the rest of the run, I just have to say that I was a really high level because of how much grinding I had to do at the beginning of the game. There's still some challenges, like in Whitney's Gym. To prepare for Miltank, I set up 6 Hardens on Clefairy to maximize defense, but Miltank used Rollout, I used Mud Slap, and wouldn't you know it, 4 Mud Slaps and it still didn't miss a turn. I reset and did the exact same strategy again. More Mud Slaps, more perfectly accurate Miltank. Except I used Recover 1 turn early and held on for the last Rollout turn. I kept using Mud Slap just to help me out, then learned that Bubble Beam does way more damage than I was expecting, and I probably could have won from the beginning if I had just used it. Well, now I know for when I play through Pokemon Gold with a Corsola. Before I got to Morty, I replaced Harden with Rollout so I had a physical stab move and could just be a big ball of rolling pain. I went straight to the Ghost Gym leader and tried rolling through his entire team, but I missed a Rollout on turn 2, right after Ghastly set up Curse. So I didn't get a chance to try rolling through his team. Next attempt, and I didn't get cursed, and this let Rollout set up twice on Ghastly. Haunter cursed itself, but that just let me take it out in one go, and Gengar couldn't stand up to Rollout after it being built up. I just needed to hit on the last Haunter, and I did, making this a ridiculously easy gym battle, after it being not so ridiculously easy. The next rival battle was so much easier than before. I used 2 turns of Rollout on Haunter, and even though Magnemite resisted it, that 2-turn setup crushed it, and on turn 4 of Rollout, Bayleaf didn't even get a chance to Razor Leaf. And poor Zubat. I like Zubat, but poor Zubat. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Make sure you always cut these up, that way other fish and Corsola don't get caught in them when they get thrown away. Or else you're a bad person. Anyways, since we're talking about the ocean, I crossed by the Whirl Islands and made my way to Cianwood. I was apprehensive about Chuck since I was weak to fighting types, but I went in anyways. I used Mud Slap to lower accuracy on Primeape, and anytime he used an attack, I just used Recover. I started setting up Rollout and hit Primeape with 1 Rollout, then missed the next one. I then got confused by Dynamic Punch and basically took myself out. Next time I just went straight for Rollout, and I speed tied with Primeape so we swapped back and forth. My 3rd Rollout took out the Monkey Pig, so I was on turn 4 of Rollout when Poliwrath came out. It missed Dynamic Punch, and I took it out on turn 5. I feel like I talk about it in every challenge vid, but RNG is just so prevalent in Pokemon games. Jasmine worried me, but not because of her usual Steelix problems. This time it was the Magnemite, and these Magnemite love to paralyze you. I went straight for Mud Slap, and it almost took out Magnemite, but then I got paralyzed. My Paralyzed Cure Berry helped me out there, but the next Magnemite paralyzed me, and then I just got Thunderbolted to death. One time, even when paralyzed, I got through the Magnemites, but I was stupid and set up Rollout on Steelix instead of just using Surf. Then I got destroyed by Iron Tail. After a while of trying the battle, Mud Slap finally made Magnemite miss Thunder Wave, and the second one just used Supersonic, missing that too. So full health and not paralyzed into Steelix was fantastic. I probably should have just gone straight for Surf, but I used Mud Slap some to lower accuracy, and it still hit Iron Tail somehow, so I played the Recover game for a while. After finally being on the up and up, I cowabunged it to death. That means Surf, just in case that didn't connect for you. And then right before the Lake of Rage, I got Ancient Power. This is the power trip I was looking forward to. But I had to replace Rollout. Sad face. The rocket stuff, as usual, is completely not worth mentioning. Sorry. Price, Poor dude. I just used Ancient Power and Surf to destroy his team. Because I had to get those levels at the beginning of the game, I was super over-leveled here. I would have crushed him at an even lower level though, because of the type matchups. So, sorry dude. Again, Radio Tower, only thing worth mentioning is the rival battle. And that's not even in the Radio Tower, it's in the underground. Ancient Power destroys Golbat, and Mudslap, even as weak as it is, took out Magnemite in one hit. And Ancient Power doesn't destroy Meganium, but I had a critical one after it wasted a turn setting up Reflect. Haunter took itself out with Curse, and Sneasel actually survived Ancient Power, but that's only because of the Reflect. My level advantage absolutely destroyed people. Teach them to pollute Corsola's oceans. Surprisingly, even with my level advantage, I was able to beat Claire first try. I burned through my Paralyze Cure Berry on accident on a random trainer, so I had to fight the entire battle paralyzed. I barely survived a second Thunderbolt from her second Dragonair, and I luckily got to use Recover without being stuck for the turn. I used Surfs on Dragonair, that way I had Ancient Powers for Kingdra. Recover was the only thing that kept me alive in this battle. I fell to 11 health on Kingdra, and Recover pumped me back up to where I needed to be. I never got a stat boost from Ancient Power, but mixing Recover, Ancient Power, and Mudslap to lower its accuracy brought me the win. But it took a while. If Claire just didn't use a Hyper Potion, it would have been over much faster. The rival battle before the Elite Four was kinda uneventful. One Ancient Power took out Sneasel, and Magneton died from Surf. That was weird. One Ancient Power almost got Meganium, but it barely hung on. Its Razor Leaf was a critical hit, but I got it the next turn. I recovered against Haunter and it used Curse, so I had to deal with that for the rest of the battle. Ancient Power, being a physical attack, destroyed Kadabra, and then Ancient Power crushed Golbat. So Curse didn't even amount to anything. Elite Four time. Ancient Power was super useful against Will's Xatu. They were absolutely crushed. Executor was very dangerous, but it kept using Psychic instead of going for a grass move, and I haven't looked it up before recording this, but maybe it doesn't have any. Slowbro is very tanky, so it took just a few turns to go down, but I got the stat boost from Ancient Power on one of those turns. Recovering before I took Slowbro down gave me a safety net to take down the rest of his team. Ancient Power crushed Jinx, Ancient Power crushed Jinx, and the last Xatu obviously couldn't do much. Good first battle. Koga was super easy too. Ancient Power took out Ariados, and Surf washed away Forretress. It couldn't even explode and do super heavy damage to me anyways, so that was a relief. Muck tried to be super annoying by using Minimize, but I mud-slapped it so it couldn't do too much to me, but it still landed a Toxic before fainting. Crobat barely survived Ancient Power, and to save on the move I swapped over to Surf. Toxic was about to start racking up damage, so I had to finish things quickly. Venomoth was luckily dispatched by just one Ancient Power. Bruno's battle was actually a 2-time battle. His Machamp took me out with a critical cross chop when I really could have won. Hitmontop can't go down in one turn and it always uses Dig, but it never does too much damage, it's just more annoying. Hitmonlee can be dangerous, but if it goes for double kick instead of high jump kick, you're in the clear, and you won't take near as much damage. I got a stat boost with Ancient Power on Hitmonchan, and used it to recover because Hitmonchan will only use Mach Punch. Now that I had a stat boost, I felt much better about Machamp, but I used Recover just to be safe. One turn Cross Chop missed, so I used Mudslap to lower its accuracy. Ironically, it hit for 3 turns in a row after dropping the accuracy. But then it ran out of Cross Chops and had to go for Vital Throw. And one of them was a critical hit and almost took me out. If I didn't have Recover, this battle would have been over a long time ago. Surf finished off the Muscle Man. And Onyx? Yeah. Before Karen's battle, I realized I didn't have enough ethers to fully restore each move for the next 2 battles. This hampered me pretty bad, so I had to actually get strategic with my moves. Umbreon is an annoying wall to start out the battle. It takes a beating and loves to use Sand Attack, so this is just like every other challenge I've done. Vileplume is the worst thing in the world. I would always go for 2 Mud Slaps, but I would typically get paralyzed by Stun Spore. and then Pedal Dance is just destructive. That happened basically every single time. I finally got past Umbreon without being hit by Sand Attack, and then got a stat boost from Ancient Power. It did confuse me though, but I only hit myself in confusion once. Vileplume missed Stun Spore 2 turns in a row, and I lowered its accuracy with my 2 Mud Slaps. Ancient Power took down the plant, and I was set for the rest of the battle. Ancient Power also took down Gengar before it could curse. No cursing. Family-friendly channel. Houndoom drowned. The end. And Ancient Power crushed Murkrow. Now it's actually the end. Grass types are pretty rough on Corsola. A few things had to be done before Lance. I had to use my final Ether on Surf and not Ancient Power. If I was only getting the stab boost on Ancient Power, I would have picked that one. But Surf is always stronger than Ancient Power, and it just fit better. I also had to replace Mud Slap with Swagger. Mud Slap had run its course, and Earthquake wasn't going to be able to hit any of his flying types, so Swagger was my best option in this battle. One Ancient Power always takes out Gyarados, except on the occasionally really low roll. Swagger is fantastic on Dragonite. Its attack is already high, so Swagger just almost guarantees it will hit itself. The second Dragonite paralyzed me and loved spamming Hyper Beam, but it eventually went down. Surf destroys Charizard, and out came the last Dragonite. And Outrage took me out. Swagger just wasn't enough for it. The battle basically played out the exact same way each time. There was one time I was on the final Dragonite, and I totally played myself. Dragonite used Safeguard, and I used Swagger. And Safeguard keeps it from getting confused. So I just gave it a free attack boost. It still used Outrage, so it was using special attack, but still. That wasn't my proudest moment. When I finally got some headway made in the battle, the first Dragonite missed Thunder Wave 4 turns in a row, and that helped me out tremendously. And when it hit with Thunder, I just recovered to avoid the damage. Hyper Beam made me use Recover again, and then it took itself out in confusion. Second Dragonite did basically the same thing, even missing its Thunder Wave, taking itself out. The good thing about Charizard and Aerodactyl is that they are always washed away by Surf. Aerodactyl's rock typing was something else that made me hesitant to use the Ether on Ancient Power, and one Surf takes it out fine. The final Dragonite hit itself in confusion, I Surfed, then it used Safeguard, so I couldn't Swagger anymore. I went for Surf, took a heavy Outrage, and finished it with Surf. Good job, Carl. And now we head to Kanto, but for those of you not familiar with these Gen 2 runs, there's nothing of interest that happens in Kanto. The gym leaders are barely any trouble. The only one that is even a little trouble is Blue, and his Exeggutor was a little dangerous, but other than that, there's nothing. Let's go straight to the main event. Red. Pikachu scared me, but it started out the battle with actually something worse than an electric attack. Charm, lowering my attack stat badly. Then it hit with Thunder. I always tried to get a stat boost on Pikachu, and I did in my first battle. I immediately got another stat boost the next turn, but I was so super low on health. One Earthquake took care of it after that. I used Swagger on Espeon just to try and buy some turns, and I don't have Recover anymore, but I was able to restore health with the leftovers. This battle Espeon didn't even attack me. And then came Venusaur. I thought Earthquake would be really good against it, but it wasn't strong enough. Then I missed Swagger, and Solar Beam wrecked me. After a few battles, I realized Earthquake wasn't going to be as useful, so I reset to before the battle where I still had Recover on my team. Pikachu missed Thunder turn 1, and went down to a critical Ancient Power. Espeon's Psychic did a little less than half health, and I went for Swagger. It hit me again, and I went for Ancient Power. I got the much needed stat boost, and Espeon hit itself next turn, letting me use Recover. Espeon hit me again, and I recovered again, just to offset any damages. I took one more Psychic, but a Surf took it out. I had to hit Venusaur with Swagger, and I did. It hit itself in confusion, first turn. Ancient Power didn't do too much, but Venusaur hurt itself again. If I could just get past it in the battle, this would be so much easier, and it went down. 3 to go. I wasn't sure how to approach Snorlax, so I went for the Swagger strat. Ancient Power did about the same amount of damage it did to Venusaur, but it hit itself again, letting me take it down. 2 more. And then Blastoise got a massive critical surf on me, so I recovered because I was not gonna lose to a stinking Blastoise. I played the recover swagger game for a few turns on Blastoise, then had an opening to almost finish it with Ancient Power. It had another critical surf. I recovered just to be safe, then surfed it down. And Charizard couldn't do anything. One big ol' surf took down the Dragon Lizard, and Carl picked up the win. You can beat Pokemon Silver with just a Corsola. So other than the early game being really tough, this is a pretty easy run, and it's pretty fun. And let's be real, who doesn't love Corsola? And shiny Corsola, that's another beautiful thing. If you're still here, thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, and come back for more stuff. Have a fantastic day, and until next time, see you later!